All right, we're going to subtract mixed numbers. We're going to subtract 6 1/4 minus 3 4/7. So to subtract these, the first step we're going to do is we are going to find a common denominator. So what I mean by that, remember the denominator is the bottom and the numerator is the top. So we're going to try to make these into the same number. And to do that, the first step is you need to think about the multiples of 4 and 7. And remember, a multiple is just basically skip counting or counting by that particular number. So let's list out the multiples of 4. So multiples of 4 are things like 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and 28. Multiples of 7 are 7, 14, 21, and 28. So these are the multiples. So to find the common denominator is we're going to look for the number that's the same that you see for both. So if you look, I see that 28 goes into both 4 and 7, and we call that the least common denominator because it's the one that shows up first. So we're going to, second step is rename our fractions. And the way that we rename our fractions is we use multiplication. So if you see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 4 times 7 gives you 28. And remember what I do to the bottom, I have to also do to the top. So that now becomes 7 28ths. And don't forget to bring down your whole number. Next is we're going to do the same here, except 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to times 7 by 4. What I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So now that becomes 16 28ths. Don't forget your whole number. So now I've renamed the fractions using my common denominator. These are called equivalent fractions. Next step is we're going to subtract the numerators. So remember the numerator is the top number. So we're going to subtract 7 from 16. Now, we have a problem because I cannot subtract 7 from 16 in this particular problem. So what we're going to have to do for this particular problem is we're going to have to do some borrowing. So to borrow, there's a trick to it. And basically we're going to change this so that this is now an improper fraction. And the way to do that is we take from our whole number. So then we take 1 away from here. And then the trick is you add these together. You do 28 plus 7. And 28 plus 7 is 35. So now this 7 becomes a 35. So I have a new fraction, which is 5 and 35 28. See how that's improper now? Minus 3 and 16 28. So now, since I put that whole number back into my fraction, I can now subtract. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 5, or subtract my numerators. 35 minus 16 is going to be my next step. And 35 minus 16 is 19. And then my denominators never change, so those stay 28. That stays 28. So now I have 19 28ths. The last step is, don't forget to subtract your whole numbers. So to subtract my whole numbers, I'm going to do 5 minus 3 is 2. So then I have 2 and 19 28ths. Now, my last step is always double check, have I simplified the whole entire problem? So I know that this is going to be simplified because there are no factors of 19 but 1. It's a prime number, and prime numbers means that only 1 will go into that. And so these have no common factor. So I can't simplify anymore. So this becomes my final answer, 2 and 19/28.